Checking. That's better. You guys can hear me now, can't you? I hope. So good morning, folks. What's my desktop audio set to? Hopefully that works now as well. All right, let's check to make sure we're streaming. I'm sorry, guys. I've got allergies this morning. A little bit of allergies. Figures. They never stop. Good old Modesto, California. Ahoy, Aiden. Easy cheese. Hey, Dave. Thank you, Easy Cheese. Appreciate that. Hey, K-Money. All right, so we are definitely doing music box development this morning for the very first time on stream, so that's exciting. That's fun. I think going forward, we'll probably go back and forth Tuesdays and Thursdays, music box development and launch box development. So it should be fun. What's up, Alfredo? Corbetts, greetings. Thank you, David. We need the album view, absolutely, and it's already a work in progress. It's getting there, but it is a major challenge because of what I want to do. So we're gonna be tackling that today. Yeah, Dave, there's a lot of stuff on your list that is definitely high up on mine as well, and all of it is planned. So, hey, thank you, K-Money. I'm glad to hear that. Sweet. That's great to hear. Taking Launchbox dev streams now. Camel, no. We're going back and forth. We're going to do Launchbox dev streams and MusicBox dev streams. Hey, Luke. Hey, Neil 9000. Hey, not enough credits. I could create a separate account, but why would I do that? It's all development. It's all here. I'm not gonna create a separate account for that. Have a good day, Camel. All right. Susudio, thank you. That's great to hear. Tony, welcome. Adblock isn't working on Twitch anymore. Interesting. A jukebox view to Launchbox or MusicBox Alpha or a big box. Yeah, it covers everything now. That's exactly what I did. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't like make people not be able to find the channel, because originally it was called Unbroken Software LLC, the YouTube channel, and then I changed it to Launchbox just for name recognition, and then I just today changed it back to Unbroken Software. What are we developing with the big music box? We are developing the albums view, and I will show you guys that in just a second here. Hey, Neil. Anyways, before we get into it, let's say a quick prayer, and we'll get going. Hey, Pure Luck. Lord, thank you for another awesome time developing with the community, and thank you for the success that we've seen recently. I pray that you would just help everybody on the stream to enjoy each other. Pray that you would help us all to have a good time. Help me to be productive in building out this albums view, and keep us all building each other up and just enjoying the stream. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Do the ads support you or Twitch? They don't support me, that's for sure. Nope, I don't get any ads from Twitch. And if I'm honest with you guys all know I hate ads, so I use ad block myself, and so I have no problems with ad block. That's for sure. However, because I use ad block and refuse to watch ads or look at ads online, I do subscribe to YouTube Red, which at least lets me, pay the video content producers a little bit. So as much as useless as YouTube Red is, I don't watch any of the special content they put out. But to me, it's a good way to support YouTube content creators without having to watch the stupid ads. So for that reason, I do subscribe to YouTube Red. Cool, K Money. Yeah, that makes sense, and that's the plan. You've hit the song limit and it hasn't told you. Well, that's good to know. Huh. Interesting. All right, anyways, let's get busy. Let me show you the work in progress albums view here. It's a performance issue right now. I have to work on the performance. It does take a few seconds to load, and so we're gonna work on that. But this is the albums. Now the tricky thing here, I mean, this is easy. Building this view is super easy, and I could actually just make this work as is and put out a version that takes you to the song list when you click on one. But what I want to get going, I want you to be able to expand the album list out so you can see the tracks right here. Because it just, especially when you click on an artist, for example, let's load up Alter Bridge, and you go to the albums view, I want you to be able to expand out each one of these and see the songs right there. Because to me, that's a much better interface than you click on an album and it takes you directly to the songs in a different view. I'd like it all to be in one screen. So that is the current plan there. And right now, when you click on an album, it's messed up right now. It's not working correctly. But this is sort of kind of the concept here. So anyways, that's the plan. And we'll pretty this up secondarily. The first thing we need to do is solve all the little issues. One problem we have right now is the performance in loading it up, and I know why the performance is an issue. It's because we're loading up every single song for every single album for everything listed, which isn't necessary. So that's one thing we can do to speed it up, and I'll be doing that. That might be the first thing we tackle here. But another thing is we need to actually make this work so that this isn't. For one thing, if you click on, for example, this album, it drops it down underneath, so we got to fix that. There shouldn't be this weird hover stuff on this. It is going to be tricky. And the other thing with WPF, obviously WPF is what we use for this stuff. There's a million ways to do this. And right now I'm using a list view, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily the best way to do it. So that's the kind of stuff we're looking at here to try and resolve. Thank you, Pish. Hey, Quad. K-Money, did you have a chance to look at those API links I sent you for larger images from last.fm? I did briefly, however, I didn't look at them in detail. So that's still on my list to do. From my understanding, I'm already asking last.fm for the largest images. So unless there's some kind of weird quirk, I doubt that's going to solve any problems, but it could. I'm not sure. So. Thank you, Pish. Yeah, VLC is amazing, but it's not really a very good interface for like a music collection. Thank you, Media. Much appreciated. Will we be able to edit album or artist information? Yes, we will. You will. And currently, I know that's not available, but yes, that is definitely planned. Good to know, Jade. I'll have to look at that. I'll look at that off stream. If you're on the Music Box forums, that would be helpful, and we can talk about that through there, if you're willing. Hey, Ale. Nico, well, I'll give you. I mean, we go through this quite a bit on stream, but I'll give you a quick rundown. I've been programming since I was like, in junior high. So yes, I was a little bit self-taught. Then I went to college and learned everything I was doing wrong, and never graduated college, but did take all the computer science classes. So a little bit of both, really. Thank you, Pish. Good to know. Or good to hear, I mean. Morning, Static Fade. I need more Def Leppard. There you go. I do like Def Leppard, but you're right, I don't have any Def Leppard in my collection. Yes, K-Money I am. And that is something I am aware of. So right now, like, for example, the artist images are all actually loaded from the full-size images in the artist in the artist folder. And so basically, if I pull up my Music Box Alpha folder here, what I'm planning to do is in the images to add a cache folder and then kind of duplicate smaller versions of the images in the artist folder there. And right now, they're generated, and so the ones that are generated, we would put in the cache folder. And the other thing is, I'm already caching the album art for this stuff right here in smaller forms, because this is all pulled from the file tags. And obviously, if you pulled the images directly from the file tags every single time, it would take way too long. So I am beginning to cache some of these images, but yes, I do plan on caching. Really, the only images that aren't cached right now are the artist images. Everything else is cached. So yeah, I need to do that. Agreed. You know, I don't know where Last.fm is based. Hey, Slash Guns. Music Box will have a screen suitable for touchscreen monitors. Yes. Really, the interface already works fairly well for touchscreen monitors. ETA Prime, guys, just put out a video last night, on a quick demo of Music Box running on a low-end set-top box and with a touchscreen monitor. And I'll be honest with you guys, I never did anything to implement any kind of special touchscreen support, but WPF just automatically handles that great, and with the methods we're using, and everything works wonderfully with touchscreen support in Music Box. And that is a major goal, so we'll make sure going forward that everything works great with touchscreen support. Obviously, things are nice. Things are, for the most part, nice and big, so there's no real usability issues. The songs list, it's not too bad. I mean, that's big enough for your finger. So touchscreen support isn't really a problem, which is good. Scrape the iTunes API. Yeah, I don't know if that's... I'd have to look into that. I don't know if that's legal, or if... honestly, I doubt Apple is going to want us to do that. You know? because it's Apple. I mean, really, it's Apple. But if we can, if it's legal, we will. You know, we'll see. I don't know. I know I use an application called Album Art Downloader, and that app does scrape iTunes. So, but I don't know. I think it's using a bunch of scrapers though, and I doubt it's, 100%. I don't want to say that it's illegal, but it's probably not appreciated. Let's just put it that way. We'll see. Becoming a FLAC snob. Yeah, I've been a FLAC snob for ages, and all my music, if you look at my music collection, as much as possible, for example, here's all the CDs I've ripped directly. They all, I use these FLAC album in a file things, and I like these because you don't have to worry about the song names and the file names or any of that. It's just it's an entire album in a single file, and even better, it's a perfect image of the entire album in the file, to the point where you could take this and burn a perfect CD from it. And I know there are, but gaps between tracks and stuff like that aren't going to be bit perfect if you would do that, but it's as close as what matters. And if you have a gapless CD, it'll burn a gapless CD and that kind of stuff. But this is great because it actually is lighter on your music program, because it's only got to read one file instead of 10, 15, 20, whatever's on the album. The other thing is it enables easy gapless playback because it's all one file. It just plays on through the other. So this is one of the first things I supported in MusicBox. I wanted to make sure we could support these cue sheets. Embedded cue sheets are what they're called in FLAC files, and I actually had to manually code this myself because almost nothing supports it. Foobar does, and there's some other applications that do, but it's hard to find a music player that does support that. So anyways, tangent, but cool, Nico. Yeah, well, I mean, generally, it's best if you're going to school to be a programmer, you want to enjoy programming and want to get into it on your own. You know what I mean? You're gonna have the best luck if it's something that you've tried to get into already. But I've seen people go amazing places that didn't too. So who knows? Will you be able to use your own Ripper app? Yes. Well, you already can use your own Ripper app and just put the music in MusicBox Alpha, no problem. Eventually, what I do plan to do is integrate ripping into the app, and we'll probably use an open source program called QTools. We'll probably integrate that into the app to make it work best. This is in C#, Nico. Hey, Criven. Cool, K-Money. That's good to know. Yeah, we do need a good source of genre images. Right now, I know we're doing a lot of talking here, but we'll get to the development. Right now, basically, I'm just compiling these album art images. And it works, but I will admit, it's not my favorite thing in the world. It's not my favorite looking. I'm just not a huge fan of the way this looks. So I do think it would be better if we had proper genre images somehow or other. Pish, can you use your own art images? Yes, absolutely. If you want to provide custom artist images, you just got to drop the artist images in the MusicBox Alpha Images Artist folder, and it'll pick those up. The album images all come from your music's album art, so you can just use your music tags to change those. Genre images, you can actually customize the genre images to Musicbox Alpha /images /genres. You can do that as well. So yeah, there's it's all fully customizable. Thank you, Walt. Good to know. I appreciate that. More flexible view options. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll get there for sure. Audiobook covers. Sure. Good to know. Yeah, well, I mean, audiobooks are definitely something that should be supported. Um, and scanning for audiobook covers, that makes a lot of sense. We just need a good um, we need a good source for that stuff. Launchbox works fairly well with touch, yeah. It does. It's just not Launchbox has never been ideal for touch though. As much as, I mean, it does work halfway decent, but it was kind of an afterthought, and the interface doesn't work that great with touch, I will admit. Uh, Musicbox Alpha should work a lot better with touch than Launchbox, although Launchbox does work. There are some comments that don't show up in the video. Yeah, it might be our spam filter or something or other. Would love an artist list on the left. Clicking an artist would then display the albums in the center pane. Clicking an album would then display the track list in a split bottom pane or on the right. Sure. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and we might be able to. Yeah, we'll provide different options there eventually. Do you have plans for an Android version of Musicbox and Launchbox, or even iOS? Not currently. Eventually, maybe. However, one thing that has been obvious based on polls we've had in the past, there's a good chunk, the vast majority of our community is not interested in an Android version of Launchbox, which is a surprise to me, but people aren't interested in paying for it, especially. So for that reason, it probably isn't going to be a path we're going to go down anytime soon. Yeah, we're okay. Well, that's good to know. What version is that happening with you for you on Ale? Sometimes the program shuts down when I try to remove a music folder. What version is it? Because I did just fix that with the latest version. Hopefully fixed it with the latest version. Yeah, burning a CD. I don't burn CDs anymore either, but I do rip all my music from CDs because Amazon, it's so stupid that so often you can get a physical CD cheaper than you can get downloads. Plus, Amazon does this whole thing where you can download it and get the CD. And since I'm a collector, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get the CD. So all my music, I almost always get the CD and then rip it to FLAC because I like lossless music. And you beat the song limit. I don't know, probably not. Internet radio will be supported. Yes, that's planned. We're going to do podcasts. Are we going to do podcasts? Or are we going to support podcasts? Yes, we'll support podcasts. Gotcha, Jade. That makes sense. When do I plan to implement the search? Honestly, it's not going to take that long. So soon. It's a big glaring omission right now, obviously. Still making mixtapes. Yeah, I agree that it would look great on a tablet, K-Money. Download from torrent. What are you referring to, AIV? All right. So, we are going to tackle this albums view. First thing I want to do, so right now, if I load up my data manager class, I have a get all albums, well, all three of these matter. And right now, this is really slow because we're feeding all the songs over to each new album. So we need to change this. The first thing I'm going to do is go to the album class, and we're going to get rid of this. And then what I can do is whenever the songs list is called, we can populate it there instead. So I'm going to add a private, like a type, list of songs. And then what we're going to do is if this.songs equals null, we'll go ahead and populate this songs, and then we're going to return this.songs. So populating the songs, might be interesting to have an audio stream of these developer feeds that can play in NBA. Sure. This is a thematic way of doing developer streams. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool, Ale. Hey, John. So in the data manager, I need a way to return the songs for a particular album. So I need a get all songs for album method. Like IEnumerable of song, get all songs for album. And we just feed in the artist and the album name. And we're going to ultimately do this. And I'm going to steal this clause right here. Okay, so that's fixed then. Return all songs.where. This is going to change. String that equals s.album and album. And string that equals s.album artist or artist and artist. Order by disc number, then by track number. And then we're going to do toList. So that gets us also all the songs for the album. We need to fix this as well. And this. So then basically this.songs equals new list of song, and we're going to feed it root.datamanager.get all songs for album. This dot artist, this dot name. And then that'll do it, I think. That's a little bit too, well, what I can do is this. Get rid of this stuff. Okay. Thank you, Pish. Although honestly, I'm not really out of the ordinary when it comes to developers. Well, thank you, Jade. Although feel free to wait, you know. Yeah, I like audiobooks too. Although I don't listen to very many of them still. I do I would much rather do that, like listen to an audiobook in the car than actually read a book. I mean, who does that? Who reads books these days? Thank you, Caleb. Yes, of course it is. I'm sorry, Criven. I my wife reads a lot of books, and a lot of people do. But I'll be honest, I'm not very good at it. I wish I was. I wish I was a big reader, but to be honest, I'm not. So the thing is, like, I think developers sometimes have an issue being a reader because it's just, you know, words all day long. Although I have known some developers that are big readers. Flashy video games, yep. Yeah, well, I mean, it's preference. A lot of people like the light background, and I have to admit, I used to prefer white backgrounds and black text, but eventually I got used to the dark backgrounds. And yeah, for me, it just, I don't know, it makes it's nicer to look at for me. It's not like my eyes get strained that bad or anything. It's just nicer for me to look at all day than the white background. Music related hat for the Music Box streams. There you go. But good luck trying to find a music related hat that doesn't look like the dumbest, dorkiest thing you've ever seen in your life. I mean, what? Maybe an artist hat. I need to find an artist hat. Something like that. All right. So anyways, we've tweaked this to hopefully solve the issue of performance loading. We'll see. We'll see how it does now loading the artist list for the first time. Or I mean the albums list for the first time. Yeah, it's still taking a while. I don't know if... Let's see if this property is ever hit on album. Because it shouldn't be. We don't want it to be hit. It's not. So it's still taking a while to... Well, I mean, it's not horrible. But it's not as quick as I would like it to be. And I'm sure it's that link query. Still taking a few seconds. In my collection, I've got like 12,000 songs, something like that. So it's not tiny, but it's not stupid huge either. I know we've had... I heard one guy was using it perfectly fine with 60,000 songs. We have had a minor issue with one person, or not minor issue, kind of a major issue, which I'm working through, with one person who has 200,000 songs in his collection. So working through stuff like that for like stupid huge collections. 200,000 songs. You're looking at 20,000 albums. You know, that's a lot of freaking music. Silver background. How much programming slow does old text games where you have to type in the next action and hope the computer understands what you want? Yeah, you know what's funny? I hate playing those games. My first adventure game that I ever played was King's Quest VI, believe it or not, in like I think it was 1992 or something like that. And I mean, I was born in '84, so I was probably 8 years old at the time. That was the first true adventure game I played. So I didn't really play any of the text adventure games. And but now, man, anytime anytime I've ever tried to go back to an early text input adventure game, I just want to like shoot myself in the head, and I can't do it. It's interesting. Alfredo, it's wondering if you ever heard of the band Alter Bridge. Of course I have, man. Alter Bridge is one of my favorite bands, believe it or not. So there's, yeah, you want to see my Alter Bridge collection. Alter Bridge is huge to me. I have every album. And I bought all these albums. So yeah, I love Alter Bridge. They're wonderful. They're just freaking magnificent. There's nobody else like them either. I also have Mark Tremonti's albums. I think I've got all his albums. And he's a favorite of mine. Mark Tremonti's always been a favorite of mine. And I have to admit, oh, it's under T. Tremonti, there it is. I have to admit, I was a Creed fan back in the day, you know, and so it's good. And the latest Creed record that came out, I just kind of wanted to, you know, do one of these. I didn't like it at all, but I've always loved Alter Bridge and Tremonti stuff tremendously. So yeah. Anyways. Awesome, K-Money. Good to know. So, what was the problem, K-Money? What did it help you solve? Don't you think people in general would prefer an ads version of the program but free? You know, honestly, I don't. I don't think that at all. People hate ads. And ads don't bring in a lot of money. They really don't. They're not. It's not a good revenue stream. It can be on like Android if you have a tremendously huge audience. But you guys know that I hate ads. I've always hated ads, so I don't really want to make that the way that we make money. I don't like ads. Never really liked ads. So what I tried to do with MusicBox was do something similar to Launchbox because I know what works. You know what I mean? So, anyways. Does MusicBox have minimal players, like if you want to control music while doing other things? That's planned, but not currently. Windows, the latest versions of Windows will let you control the app from this little thing here. And that's not built yet, but that is certainly planned. And we might also have a small view as well. Climb steps, go west. Pirate Adventure on a TI 994A. What is that? 90s era Newsboys. That's funny. I never got into the Newsboys, I'll be honest. God is an astronaut. Great artist. I've never heard of them. I'd have to look that up. Caveman's Call. Yeah, I've never been huge into Caveman's Call, but yeah, they've got some good music. Pay-per-click. Sure. Yeah. I mean, of course, we've taken out ads for Launchbox in the past, but yeah, it feels like the ad systems are for people who want to advertise, one, and Google sure makes a ton of freaking money off ads, no question. But it always seems like the person who's displaying the ads gets the raw end of the deal, you know, the bad end of the deal. So that's just feels like the way it is. But anyways, so we got to work on speeding this up some yet. I don't want to spend the whole stream speeding it up. I want to try and get the actual display going. But I think it would be worth doing some further work here to speed this up a little bit. So we have this query. We're using link for most of this stuff. And so figuring out how to speed it up. We're using a group by currently. I wonder if we let's go, what's it called? What's that dumb thing called? JetBrains dot trace. Is it dot memory dot peak dot trace? I don't even remember. I think it's dot trace, but we'll find out. We're gonna do a little bit of performance profiling here to see what the slowest point is and see what we might be able to speed up. Yeah, this is the right thing. We're going to load this up. I'm going to run the app. And I'm going to start the profiling and then load up albums. Oh, that was pretty quick. Why was that so much quicker that time, man? That was crazy. Okay, and I'll drag this up over here. So we have all these threads running. Which, come to think of it, it's probably parsing. Let's try this again. Let's make this a little bit of a cleaner test. So we'll give it a run. I want to wait for the background scanning and stuff like that to finish before we do it. So we'll give it a second to catch up and make sure it's got all of its music. I'm just going to pull up the task manager so I can look at the CPU load. Yeah, it's down to 0%, 270 megs of RAM. So it's done. It's done doing its scanning. I'm going to click start. We'll go to albums. That isn't too bad, really. So maybe we have a little bit less threads going on over here. So the main thread is probably, yeah, this is not really what we need because it's all happening in a background thread, the loading process. Dispatch, load images. So this is where it's loading the images. This is not what we want really. This thread is also load images. There's several load images threads. Again, a load images thread. We're using all the cores we can possibly use, which is why there's so many threads loading images. You know, we're going through and using the hardware to load stuff up as quick as possible. The Controls view model. This is interesting. Song length and song position. That's not what we need. Huh. Where are we at here? Surprised I'm seeing so many of those. We might want to look into why that's happening. This is the first time I've loaded this up in a profiler, so there's quite a bit of these, which is, I mean, and there's not a whole lot of CPU activity, but still, there's nothing playing, so why is it setting song length and that kind of thing? Initialize. Oh, this is the parser. It's just sleeping. So I've completely missed it. Where is it? I'm looking for the method I'm looking for is in the data manager class, get all albums. There might be a search in here. I'm not sure. Never had to search before. Get all albums. Well, does Control F work? Ah. Get all albums. Okay, that's helpful. Alright, so this is in thread number 8 apparently, the second one. In the same thread as load images, I see. So it's calling get all albums. It's only taking 737 milliseconds though. Less than a second. So perhaps it's not even that method that's causing the slowdown. That's interesting. The load images takes a lot longer, but the thing is, the images should be popping in after. Interesting. This is an album view model. Load images. Now the load images method is right here, but it happens in another separate thread. Well, I guess we're using the thread pool to do it, which makes sense. We're queuing a user work item. And this is happening when the view is attached, but it should jump to a new view at that point. I guess it just happens to be using the same thread since we're using the thread pool for these two operations. It's interesting though that it's taking as long as it is to do this. Although, I mean, it was happening fairly quick. So I don't know, I might move on from this, come back to it later. But it seemed to take a lot longer the first time I tested it. I think that is because just because it was still parsing music in the background. But yeah, that's not too bad. It's just, it would be nice if it was more instantaneous. And one thing we could do is like you know, parse the stuff out in the background and stuff like that. I guess, I mean, I don't have any immediate ideas, and it's taking a lot less time than I imagined it would. So I'm not quite sure what the... Because obviously it's taking longer than 737 milliseconds. So we have the album's child content view model is only taking out, that whole thing is only taking out 14%. It could be like the GUI loading stuff, but Because, yeah, we're seeing it take a few seconds here. And if we wait for this background scanning to finish, though, that might be what's causing it. We might want to make that a lower priority. I mean, literally, every time you load it up, it only takes 2 or 3 seconds to do the entire background scanning currently, just to make sure there's... obviously, if you're scanning for the first time, it can take a more significant amount of time, like a couple of minutes. But subsequent times when you load it up and just checking for new music, it only takes a few seconds. So it's happening in less than 2 seconds now, but still, I mean, it's not 737 milliseconds. What's taking all the extra time? Is loading images making it take longer is one of my questions. So let me try something. Let's not load any images. And see if it comes up quicker, because okay, it's populating and it's done. So now if we go to albums, it's taken about the same amount of time. I don't see a significant difference there. I don't know if it's just the WPF GUI stuff loading up all these items. I'm not sure. If I yeah, it doesn't seem to be loading any quicker, not loading the images. So that's a good thing. That means the images are being loaded in the background like they're supposed to be. But don't ask me why it's taken so much longer to populate that list than I would expect. You're right, Dave, it would. Let me catch up on comments here. I haven't checked in a while. Let me see. Texas Instruments had a computer in the 80s that hooked up to your TV, TI-99 4A. I see. Okay. Oh, another program was holding on to those files. I see, K-Money. Sure, that makes sense. Huh. Good to know. So we might have a glitch there. I'll look into that, K-Money. Tom Petty. I do like Tom Petty, although I'm not that familiar with him, to be honest. What I know from Tom Petty, I really like. Coffee Lake. I've got a 6700K in my box right now. So last gen, but certainly a good CPU. Threadpool should be a nerdy alternate universe version of Deadpool. Movies and TV shows. Yeah, I keep hearing that. The only issue with that is, I mean, we're competing with Kodi. We're already competing with Kodi, you know, to a certain extent with games and music, but movies, that's what Kodi does, you know. And it does. Kodi does it well, especially for movies and TV shows. Not that it couldn't be improved on, but do we really want to compete with Kodi? I don't know. Launchbox developer sessions at the top of the stream. Good point. Good point, K-Money. I didn't think about that. We need to, I need to tweak my background, don't I? Voice control, sure. Kodi doesn't have a good metadata manager. Yeah, you know what I use for that? There's a program called Media Elk that does an awesome job managing your media and metadata, all that stuff. So look into that. If you're looking for a media metadata manager for Kodi, you need Media Elk. It's an amazing application. But yeah, that has always been an issue for Kodi. But the thing is, Kodi doesn't have a desktop interface. It's all the big interface stuff. So it's like having Big Box without Launchbox. You know what I mean? Which is a big win for Launchbox. It's always been a big win for Launchbox that we have both the desktop and the big interface. You know what I mean? And you do all your metadata tweaking in Launchbox, and then you've got the big interface that doesn't have to do all the metadata tweaking and stuff in Big Box. You think I can beat Kodi? That would be a big deal if we beat Kodi. Hey, Upsy Downsy. Word, Baker. All right. Let us... Where were we? I mean, trying to figure out... I don't want to spend the whole stream on this. But we still got 2 hours, so we got some time. Try and figure out here. What's taking so long? So obviously the album's child content view model constructor is only taking 14% of this particular thread. But I mean, we need to figure out what else is going on taking the remaining time. And because it's multi-threaded, that's kind of difficult to do. But clearly it's the main thread. Very little is happening on the main thread other than like displaying the GUI and stuff like that. Which is the way it should be. Just trying to think through. So we have the album's child content view model. This is basically the view that's the entire view that's displaying the whole list of albums. And we go through the constructor, and at this point, this is fairly quick. But is the issue between this and... So if I put a breakpoint on this, and we start it up, and I click albums, that happens immediately. So it's still at some point between here and... the actual display, because it's still taking some time to display them all. And so this is where we do the population, and this goes nice and quick in theory. So let's put a breakpoint down here then. So we click albums. It immediately hits that breakpoint. So that's going super quick. But it's still, after that, taking quite a bit of time to actually display stuff, which is surprising me. There's the attach view. We're doing this stuff, which we don't even really need to do anymore. I doubt this has an issue though. How quick is this happening, I guess. See, that's coming up. It's, yeah, this isn't causing any delays. So it's all happening after that, interestingly. So what happens after attach view? There's not much that... I wonder if that's happening at all. That happens almost instantaneously. Then onActivated is called. Look at that. Oh, I see. So it apparently didn't... Let's try this again. Yeah, that's... doesn't matter. So yeah, again, this is happening instantly. This might be completely out of my control. It could just be that WPF is slow when it comes to presenting this particular list view or something of that nature. I mean, I'm curious. Well, for example, if I load up something with just a few albums, it's quick. I don't have any album art for that one. That's another thing I need to do is fill in, you know, empty or generic album art, because there's just nothing there right now, which isn't good. Alice in Chains. It's instant with this number of items. All I can figure is that because we have so many frickin' items listed here, it just takes a while for the GUI to populate them all in WPF. I mean, that's all I can figure, which isn't ideal. But I guess for now we'll deal with it, because literally, I mean, there's nothing I can do to speed it up. The code is out of my control. Other than, I mean, one possibility that might help is to tweak the XAML to make the XAML more performant or something of that nature. Unless, I mean, we're album style content view model. Yeah, we're already constructing all the album view models and all that stuff. Oops. Yeah. Criven, I think you can. I mean, half of Cody's thing is music, and you're about to kill them there. Yeah. I don't know. We could use the same stuff as Big Box that we currently have. I mean, we have all the technologies needed in order to implement something like Kodi, no doubt. That's true. We do. But you have to keep in mind that Kodi's free, right? So are people going to be interested in, you know, buying a product that maybe has a little bit better interface than Kodi, But so I guess the question is how are we going to beat Kodi when it comes to making a a media box or something of that nature. Left an album view feature request recently about box set views. I haven't seen that yet, Upsy Downsy, but I'm sure I'll see it soon. Was it on Bitbucket? Retro Player. Yeah, I've heard about Retro Player, but I haven't looked into it in too much detail. I assume that's like emulation they're trying to tackle now. Well, they're trying to tackle what we're doing with Launchbox and Big Box, I would assume. Dave, no, it's not. I've proven link has nothing to do with the link is going fairly quick. It's the displaying the actual objects that's doing it. Thank you, Baker. Hey, Brennan. Prefer Plex, sure. I've used Plex a lot in the past. In fact, I still use it. Although lately, I will admit, never when it comes to music, but I will admit that lately I have just been using Amazon and buying what I want from Amazon and just doing it that way. Just because it's so much easier, But rather than ripping DVDs and Blu-rays and all that stuff. Scott, better interface, better theming, seamless integration with Big Box and Music Box. Yeah, I get you guys. Sure, Shavat. Yeah, I get you there. The thing is, and truth be told, obviously the market for Kodi is a million times bigger than our current market right now for games. Although the games market is pretty huge and growing, it's definitely retro gaming is a trending thing right now. It's growing like crazy, but I don't know. Obviously, if we were to tackle a Kodi competitor, it's going to be a little bit before we get there because we've got to flesh out Music Box and keep working on Launchbox. Those are going to be the priority for a long time yet before we would ever get there. But who knows? Maybe in a year, it's something we could do. Podcatcher, sure. That's good. That's good to know, Jade. Yep. Got that, Criven. Oh. Yeah, I am. And that's the thing. Well, I mean, we've always competed with free products. That's always what we've done. I mean, Hyperspin, same diff. Although Hyperspin isn't really truly free. It's never really been a truly free product because they want you to subscribe for the media and stuff. But the software itself is downloadable for free. So we've always somewhat been competing with free. I mean, that's nothing new, and we've come out on top, and so I'm not afraid of competing with free. However, I guess more of what I'm afraid of competing with is something that huge that's already established. That's difficult, although people will naturally want to try the next big thing, so that is always, we've always had that going for us. I didn't realize that Tom Petty just died, Upsy Downsy. That sucks. I I thought he was alive, and I saw your comment earlier, and I'm like, what? I didn't realize that. That sucks. Yeah. I hope it wasn't a. I don't know. I don't know. I hope it wasn't anything bad. Hey, Vissy. Everything decent for pod catching is centered on Android and iOS. Sure. Oh, yesterday. Yeah, and I have too, K Money. That's always been my thing, especially when it comes to you know, low cost software. You know, $50 and under, even $100 and under. Adobe has always pissed me off to no end because they charge a freaking arm and a leg for their software. I've always hated that. But anyways, that's for another day. Died of a heart attack. Gotcha. On tour. Wow. You know what though? The guy, that's a good way to die. To be honest, compared to you know, some of the other things that have happened recently, that's a good way to die. He did what he loved doing, and died of a heart attack quickly on tour. I mean, seriously. Well, oh, do you think so? It was drug related, unfortunately. Well, I knew he did a lot of drugs, but who knows? I don't know though, guys. I mean, I'm like 33 or 34 right now, and if I die at 66, I'm gonna be a pretty happy man. I'm halfway through my life. You know, give me another half, and I'm perfectly fine with that. There's nothing wrong with dying at 66. Although, you know, the guy made a ton of good music. We'd love to have more music from him, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing wrong with dying at 66. Long recovered. That's cool. That's awesome. I know he's written a lot of songs about drugs and stuff, but what's going on out there? Nothing, I guess. I don't know why my dog's barking. Anyways, I'm going to move on from this. We're going to see what we can get going here with the actual song list. So right now, in my album's child content view, what I'm doing, let's take a look at it quick. I'm going to close out of this stuff. We don't need this stuff open. By the way, with my music collection, guys, I will admit there's some embarrassing stuff in this music collection. So I have very broad tastes in music. Just to cover this real quick, all right? Very, very broad tastes in music. And there's also my wife's music collection in here as well. So this is basically everything my wife and I have ever owned. So cut me a break on some of this music. I mean, I'm not big into Amy Grant, for example, but you know. However, I mean, I also will admit I've got some embarrassing tastes. I'm a big fan of Avril Lavigne. I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift. I really don't like Gwen Stefani. You know, so I have some embarrassing tastes, but most of the music I like is hard rock, metal, you know, that kind of stuff. But I have pretty broad tastes as well. Punk, you know. But anyways, Nickelback is in here, yes. I used to like Nickelback until I started to realize every single album was exactly the same, and their songs all started sounding the same and all that stuff. It should be progressive loading already, Scott, but it's... I would have to... I use a library called Caliburn Micro in order to hook all the back-end data models to the front-end GUI. In order to make it more of a progressive loading thing, I would have to tie in and tweak that code, which would be difficult, although it's certainly possible. Has Doggo ever been on a stream? Can we meet Doggo? You know what? His name is Thor, and he's a husky mutt. Basically, he's mostly husky, but he's got quite a few other breeds in him. He's a beautiful dog, but I don't think I'm gonna go get him for the moment. Alter your will to include a keygen for your products just in case. We will. Well, since you know, I've always promised that if I ever stop working on this stuff, it's going to be available for free, but and open sourced even. But yeah, okay, fine. I need to put that in my will. I haven't made a will at this point. Dora, oh yes, this is also my kids' music. Obviously, we got Thomas and Friends. We have the Fresh Beat Band, the Neverland Pirate Band. This is some of the best kids' music I've ever heard, by the way, the Neverland Pirate Band. I like that stuff. And Dora, yeah. So my kids' music is in here as well, obviously. I don't have Justin Bieber, actually. I don't like Justin Bieber. I've always hated Justin Bieber. It's some Radiohead in there. There is some Radiohead in here. I'm not a tremendous Radiohead fan, but I do like Radiohead, of course. Yeah, exactly, Criven. I'm with you there. Yeah, Dora is okay. I have kids. Queens of the Stone Age. I don't have Queens of the Stone Age. As a matter of fact, I don't know them very well at all. Phineas and Ferb. There you go. Yeah, I love Phineas and Ferb. I just don't have a soundtrack, but of course, Phineas and Ferb is one of my absolute favorite kid shows. It's one of the very few kid shows I can watch and actually be entertained and enjoy it. So yeah, Phineas and Ferb is huge for me. Aim at usability. Definitely usability will be a big focus for us. Handling that playlist while playing it. Sure. The Wiggles. The Wiggles are new to me. I don't think I've heard of them, but I don't remember them or anything. I have Pink Floyd. I do. I don't have a lot of Pink Floyd, but I've got like the essentials, I believe. Yeah, I've got more than I remembered, actually. I do. I haven't listened to Pink Floyd in a long time. But yeah, of course, Floyd has some amazing music. The Donkey Kong Country soundtrack. Where's the Disney music? I don't have a lot of Disney music, although I do have some. I mean, we have, it's not all tagged correctly. Various artists. What do we got here? We got some Disney stuff. I got Cars. I got a bunch of random crap. Some video game soundtracks that I got from GOG, you know. I got Tangled. I got Narnia. King's Quest 6. So I don't know. I suppose I don't have a lot. I have Frozen right here, although it's not. There's no album art for it. Anyways, gotcha, Criven. Hey, Mark. The new DuckTales cartoon. There's a new DuckTales? Really? Interesting. Yeah, I don't have any Disney music. Immediately brings up Tangled and Frozen. Of course. Tangled, I love the Tangled soundtrack. I absolutely love Tangled. Frozen was meh. And it's stupid that it got so much bigger because the Tangled soundtrack is so much better than the Frozen soundtrack. I don't care what anybody says. Anyways, need some Johnny Cash. Yeah, I do not have any Johnny Cash. All right. So the first problem that I want to solve, I just closed it out, of course. I think is getting this section to show up in the right spot, because right now it shows up above it. Ideally, what I would like it to do is to show up. So you click the Beatles here and have it show up under here. You guys can't see what I'm pointing at. Show up immediately above this album, and keep all these on top is what I would like. But that's tricky because I gotta figure out how to know how many of these are displayed in a row, as far as where to figure out where to insert the little view. But I know we can figure that out. That's not going to be that hard. We just figure out how many are fitting, because each of these is it might be tricky math, but we'll figure it out. So in my album's child content view model, basically when we attach our view, here's our attached view. Listview.size change. This is what we need here, actually. Calculate column count. This listview columns property doesn't really need to be. So I already have some of the code in here for this. args.newsize.width. Width divided by 260. This is not what we need. Basically, well, I mean, let's see. Might as well see, I guess. So when we select an album, I'm inserting it at this index. But we gotta know like what the that's gonna be a pain in the butt, because we gotta know how to get to the next row, and I don't know where the. Well, if we okay, so we got to do some interesting math here to determine where in the row it is. As well as so if we assume we gotta figure out how many columns there are. We got to make sure that's working properly before I'm ever going to be able to get this going. So this.listview columns, I'm going to do a quick hack here. I'm going to do a message box dot show this.listview columns to string. And we'll see if that's actually working properly. I don't think it is, but you know. So there's 5 right now, and it says 4. So yes, it's not working properly. And now there's 7, 6. So it's close, right? But it's not quite right. I don't know how I got this. I think this code might have come from the artist view. Yeah, this is just straight out the artist view. which is not the same. So I need to figure out, well, let's do a print screen and count pixels. Well, no, we should know. I should be able to tell how big it is. So each one of these, if I take a look at my themed views, and we go into our album view, so I'm setting the width is 200. The width of each of the things is 200. But there's also like spacing and stuff. It would be smart. This has to be perfect, or we're gonna have bad glitches. So I kind of need something to display the width on the screen while I'm resizing the window to be able to figure this out correctly. So what I'm gonna do is in my album's child content view, we're gonna create a text block, foreground equals white, name equals debug, font size equals, let's do something big like 24, and then I'm going to put a debug property on my album's child content view model, public string debug get and set. For now we're just going to do that, and then whenever it's resized, we need the size changed. I'm going to say this.debug first equals args, come on, args.newsize.width.toString. And in theory that will show me the width on the screen as I resize the window. And it's not, probably because it's buried. What's up with that? Oh, you idiot. This.notify of property change, this.debug. I noted that in my head like 15 seconds ago, and then I forgot to do it. There it is. There it is, 1165. Albums might show up on top of it though, yeah, and they are. So I'm going to need to do something about that so we can actually see it. Although we can probably read it. And what I'm interested in is the actual pixel that it's going to be, that it's changing on. I'm going to make this easier though and put a Z order or whatever it is on there so that I can actually see it. It's probably easiest just to throw it after the list view. Okay, it's kind of hard to see, but it's definitely there. So we got 5. If we go, so it hits 5 at 1097. These are 200 wide. So it looks like there's 1097 extra pixels. Let's start here. We hit 2 columns. At 473. So yeah, the width is of each of these items is greater than 200, and my guess, I mean, I got to figure out what's padding and margin on the sides, and what is the actual size of the item. I know that in my album's child content view, looking at the list view itself, we have the item container style. Is it item container style? The items panel. Then we have the resources, the template. So the item container style has a padding value of 4 all the way around, which means there's an extra 8. So my guess would be 208. And if we look at, oh wow, I can't even click on these anymore because of this stupid thing. Okay, interesting. I don't think there's any actual space between them. So this is the minimum for 2. So we're looking at 416 for 2 columns, would be my guess. 416, and then the padding. So grab my trusty calculator. 416 or 473 minus 416 is 57. Why would 57 isn't relevant though? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe it is, I don't know. So then the question is, if I go up to 3 columns, make sure I get this right. It's 681. So 681 minus, we're looking at 208 times 3 minus 624 is 57. Perfect. So that means I've got this figured out. So each one of these is exactly 208 pixels wide. And we have a padding surrounding the whole thing of 57. So there we are. So now I have the numbers that I need to actually do this properly. And that was kind of an interesting way to figure it out, but whatever. It works. All right, so basically, I need to get rid of my debug properties here first. I don't need that stuff. I'll do that in a second. Let's, so calculate column count. Basically, width equals width minus 57. Because that gets rid of the padding. And then we divide by, so we're going to say int columns equals int width divided by 208. However, I'm not good with math here, guys. But what I need to do is chop off the remainder. You know what I mean? I think that'll work though, just casting it, but I'm not positive. But I guess we'll, whenever we run this calculate column count method, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to columns equals then return columns. What's the issue here? Can be made static. Fine, make it static. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is we're going to set debug, this.debug, come on. Oh, this is static. Ah, crap. I just shot myself in the foot. So this.debug equals columns.toString. And we'll see if that's working properly. And then get rid of the other debug. Oh, and then I also need the notify property change. We'll get rid of this guy. Go down here. Paste that. Oh, come on. And we'll give that a test. All right, where are we at with comments here? You gotta just let it go. Oh, man. Gummy Bears crossover. Oh, man. I have probably come the closest to shooting myself listening to that stupid Gummy Bear song on YouTube for my kids in a long time. Disney is evil. I'm with you, Omen, but I still succumb to their evil antics. Yeah. You're sad that I have no disco, dubstep, or future bass. Yeah, those aren't really my kinds of genres, I will admit. Any words on Switch development? What are you referring to, Terry? Launchbox for Switch? No, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. I don't know why you would. You're talking about Switch emulation with Launchbox? Or are you talking about running Launchbox on the Nintendo Switch? Oh, not that gummy bear. Disney's gummy bears. I haven't even seen that, Jade. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. Launchbox on the Switch. Yeah, sorry, Terry. That ain't happening, to be honest. There's no... Nintendo wouldn't allow it anyways. I mean, it's just not... It's not about having powerful hardware. It's about the fact that there's not going to be very much market for it, and people aren't hacking their Switches yet. It's another good point. You can't have Launchbox without emulators, and there aren't any emulators on Switch yet, so... But yeah, I get you. It would be cool to run Launchbox on the Switch. But yeah, there's other options like running like a GPD Win, if you're gonna go that route. All right, so we're testing our column count to see if it works properly here, and then we can finally move on from that. So we're at 5 columns right now, which is correct. And when I got to make sure that it jumps down at the perfect right time, and it sure does. Look at that. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. That's great. So now that we have our column count, we can use that to determine where in the list an item is and determine where to place the thing that pops up. But I have to remove this because I can't click on anything while that's there because it's overwriting everything else, which is silly. But anyways, let's go to, first off, let's get rid of debug. We can go back to this being static. Get rid of our debug property. And then go into our view and get rid of this debug text block. All right. And from there, I can go into my selected album property. This is where we add the item. We're going to get rid of our message box. This is going to be a little complicated. I'm going to have to think about it a little bit. But we get the current index of the item that was selected. The next thing we need to figure out is where in the horizontally where in the list it is. If it's the first item, it's the third. If it's the third item, if it's the sixth item, whatever that is. So again, that's a remainder kind of thing. I think we can use Modulus for that. So we're going to say int horizontal position equals index is 0 based, though. I'm not sure if that's going to mess anything up, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to say index modulus we need this dot column count, or is it list view columns? Is that? Yeah, I think that's the right property. It's an int. All right. And we need to check to see if that's correct. So let's give that a shot. Let's go ahead and just message box that horizontal position property. Make sure that's correct. And then once I know the horizontal position, we can calculate where to place it in the list. So this should be 2. Oh, but we have to remove that first. That's going to mess us up. That's, yeah, so I didn't think about that. But 2 was correct. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try it one more time. That's 0. So other than the fact that it's getting messed up by the item that we add, but we should be removing it at that point. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It should already be gone. But we'll figure that out. So this should be working properly. We have the horizontal position. That's good. From there, the new index is going to be index equals index plus this dot list view columns minus horizontal position. Something like that, maybe. And then if index is greater than this dot albums dot count minus 1, then index equals this dot albums dot count minus 1, so it doesn't go past the end. And in theory, that might work. We'll see. Then we'll at least have it in the right spot, hopefully. All right, so look at that. That's perfect. Working exactly as it should. Granted, it's ugly, but we'll get to that. Beautiful. That makes me happy. And we'll put something like a down arrow or something to show which album is being displayed. We'll figure that stuff out. So the next thing I need to do is figure out how to actually display the songs down here. So we'll move in that direction. This album, guys, this is a folk album, but man, this is one of the best folk albums I've ever heard. Patty Griffin's American Kid. It's freaking amazing. I'm a huge CKY fan, by the way, which is ridiculous. They're so ridiculous, but I love the music. Anyways, they've fallen off the face of the earth, though. They're not making any music anymore, I doubt. I need to go pee, though, guys, so I'll be right back. Give me a second. All right. Comments. The GPD Win is a device, Terry. It's a handheld device running Windows. Yeah, Vissy said it. You'd like the Gummy Bears theme, but the bot would just delete it. Yeah, it probably would. Music Box plugin for Launchbox. We can play our music while gaming. Sure. Music Box to mute all other sounds. In theory, yes. Yeah, I think there's a way to do that. I'm not sure. I have to look into that. Hey, Retro, will there be a full screen mode? Most likely, eventually, yeah. But it depends on, I mean, what are you looking for with a full screen mode? You just want to get rid of the start bar? Like big box, so you want a full big box view for Music Box is what you're kind of saying. The same kind of interface. Yes, eventually we'll most likely get there. Maybe, I'm not sure at this point. I really don't know. Isn't that cancer of a gummy bear song? Yeah, that's good to know, Jade. Crimin. Oh no. Thanks for putting that back in my head. You brought this on yourself. It's hilarious. Let's be nice, guys. Your bullets can't keep me down. Why don't you die? Oh man. Wow. Cool, okay, money. Jukebox view. Yeah, all right. So, progress. Did that work like it was supposed to? What just happened there? Yeah, it does. It's just, it threw me for a loop for a second for some reason. The one thing I'm worried about, I mean, obviously we want a smooth transition in here, and I'm not quite sure how to do that with this current approach. Although this approach should work. It really should work just fine. But I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it. But anyways, the next step is to get songs in this list. So yeah, the initial thought I had said, you're reminding me of things, guys. Yeah, the initial thought was to integrate stuff like this into Big Box, and I still think that makes more sense to me than coming up with a whole new app for Music Box like Big Box. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yes, I am a Green Day fan. Absolutely. I like their old stuff and their new stuff. But I have to say, I mean, I loved their new stuff, like American Idiot. When American Idiot came out, I loved that album, but I got sick of it. You know what I mean? But I never got sick of their old stuff. So, you know. Yeah, I do too, Frederick. All right. So we got like an hour left. And I think let's just get songs populated. It's not that hard. I have a... So basically we have the album details view, and that is what is being displayed in this list. And this is going to need tweaked. But the album details view model, this is currently displaying songs. The item source is songs. So album details view model. There's nothing in here right now. However, it's based on the album view model. Okay. We feed in an album. So songs, the songs property. Do we have a songs property on the album view model? I thought we did. Maybe we don't. We don't. Okay, well that makes sense. Sure, I get it. The album object has the songs. So all we really need to do, this shouldn't take long to get actual songs in there, is add a public bindable collection of... Actually, this is done elsewhere. In the songs child content view model, we have the songs property. There it is. And we need the private one as well. And this is going to change a little bit. We don't need any of this. And actually, it doesn't really even need to be. It's not going to change. I guess it might. But I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. We just need it to be a simple getter and setter. We don't need the notification stuff. And then all I've got to do is populate songs in this constructor. And it's not like that's difficult. We're going to say this.songs equals new bindable collection. And we're going to feed it album.songs. And album.songs is this that I just changed earlier in the stream. So in theory, we should have songs now. It's not going to be pretty. It might not even work. But in theory, we should get songs when I click on an album. There it is. Look at that. Now we're going to have to deal with the scrolling. We don't want it to scroll. We want it to fill the whole album, and the highlight stuff is weird. But that's pretty sweet. We've already got ourselves some content here. This is ugly though, we really got to work on the way this looks. And I'll definitely be doing that. But I guess maybe the next thing to do would be to figure out how to get rid of the scrolling. We don't want it to scroll at all. We want it to fill the whole height. We're making good progress here though. This is good. You know what? I've never listened to Yellow Card before. I've heard of them quite a few times, but I've never listened to them. You would like Music Box to default to the albums view. That will be a setting that we'll add. And then when I click on an album, it would go to the view with the artist fan art in the background. Sure. And that should be an option. I agree, K-Money. So, I mean, that's actually really easy to implement. So we'll get there. Turn off fan art backgrounds. Just keep the default background throughout. Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get there, get that done as well. You like the scrolling? Sure. We might be able to add an option for that. It's like Green Day with violins. Interesting. Can we double click on the album also to get the fan art view? That makes good sense. That makes good sense. About the scrolling though, we have to keep in mind that we're still going to be able to scroll. So this whole thing scrolls, and there's a usability issue here. If you click on an album and then you scroll while you're here, then all of a sudden the whole list doesn't scroll, and it's just this that scrolls, and you get stuck. So say you're scrolling down, you can't scroll anymore. So I think it would be better just to keep scrolling the whole list. So yes, it will scroll if it's too big, but I think it should we should do something about that. Basically what I'm trying to say is I still think it would be best to get rid of the you guys can't see when I point at my screen, to get rid of the scroll bar in the song list and just keep scrolling the big list instead, and make sure that this is the full size list. But you'll see how it feels. Let's try that. Let's see how that works. Might be some tinkering in order to make that happen, though. So the first thing I need to do is in my songs, no, my album details, not the view model, in the view. My album details view, this data grid, first off, we're going to get rid of all this stuff. Style, target type, scroll bar, this all goes away. The whole data grid.resources section goes away. And scroll. Horizontal scroll bar visibility equals hidden. Vertical scroll bar visibility equals hidden as well. Actually, I'm not sure if it should be hidden. Not sure what all the properties are. I think there might be a way to disable scrolling entirely. We'll see. See what this does. So yeah, see how this still scrolls. The scroll bar isn't visible, so that's an improvement, but it still scrolls. And I think there's a way, I think disabled might be the property. And you'll notice it's, the next thing we have to do is make it the full height. Does disabled work here? Doesn't complain, so probably. It still scrolls though, that's kind of weird. Anyways, let's height is set statically at 300. I think maybe if I get rid of this height, it might make it full height. We'll see. There it is. However, the scrolling is still overridden. So, I mean, we're getting there. Obviously, this is still ugly, and I have to do a lot of prettying up on this. So keep that in mind. It's not going to look like this when it comes out, when I put this version out. But if we make it functional, then we're the majority of the way there. But it's not scrolling, which is irritating. It's perfect as long, other than the fact that it's overriding the scrolling. How do I get past that? The other thing is playing these tracks. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Yeah, that's what I figured. So I've got to do some work here to get the tracks to play. And we have the scrolling issue. And then the presentation. But this is good progress. I hate Avalon. I just hate that band. I shouldn't say that, but oh, they're awful. Not my music. Barlow Girl, on the other hand, that's some good stuff. Midlake. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to Midlake before. It's very different. It's folky. It's like weird new age folk, and I like it. Anyways. Stupid Huge Album. Somewhere, maybe. I'm not sure. Auto size property. Auto size for what? Jeff Corbett. Data grid grabbing the focus. Yeah. What is the best Beatles album? In my opinion, the best Beatles album is actually a compilation album that came out way when they were still making music, and that is, I'll show you. It's the Blue Album, is what it is. Because there's just a ton of good music on that album, and it's my favorite era of the Beatles, and it's and I also grew up listening to that album, so it's the nostalgia factor for me as well. Hey, Pac-Man, yep. You just jump around when you click. Yeah, I'm aware of that. That's why we need animation, smooth animation, so it's less, so it makes the presentation is obvious. Gotcha, Jeff. False isn't going to be I don't know. We need to look at vertical scroll bar visibility on data grid. Let's look that up. WPF data grid vertical scroll bar visibility. What just happened? Here we go. Scroll bar visibility. Yeah, here's the values. Dimension of the scroll viewer is not applied to the content. Dimension of the scroll content is set to the corresponding dimension. What? Okay. Well, I don't know what the difference is between disabled and hidden, but how do I disable scrolling completely? So I guess WPF data grid disable scrolling. Interesting. I've already been to that page. Scrolling altogether. The correct approach would be to disable the hit target. Is hit test visible? But if I do is hit test visible, I won't be able to click on it, right? Ah. Thank you, Stack Overflow, once again. All right, so let's try this stuff. If I do is hit test visible, I believe it's going to jack with being able to select anything. But we'll try that first. First thing I'm going to do is change these back to hidden. And we're going to do is hit test visible equals false. And I would expect that to disable the scrolling, but I think it's also going to let us not be able to click on anything, which is not what we want. We'll see. So yes, that works, but again, that's kind of strange. But yeah, that doesn't really solve our problem. So let's try some of these other things here. We want to scroll viewer can content scroll equals false. Does that work? Yeah. Okay. Eek. What the heck? And that didn't even do it. It didn't even do anything. What on earth? That doesn't make any sense at all. Why would that property screw things up that much? Oh, clearly this is a joke. Allow data grid to show all its content, so it needed... Yeah, I know that. That's not... There it is. The accepted solution did not work for me since I needed row selection. I solved all my issues by disabling data grid panning and handling key down events. Interesting. Scroll viewer.panning mode equals none. Okay. Let's hope this works. It still is. That sucks, man. It still won't let me scroll. It's friggin' stupid. But of course I can select at least. Huh. Well, I mean, worst case scenario, we have to use something other than a data grid, but that would suck. That's not what I want. Okay. Best mid-leg song. Ah, that's hard, Criven. I'm not sure. For one thing, I don't necessarily know all the song names. I've listened to them a lot, but yeah, I don't know. And it's one of those bands that, admittedly, the songs all blend together. However, I really love it anyways, you know? So it's specifically hard, especially hard with mid-leg to answer that. I have to look to figure it out. They're a modern-day Buffalo Springfield. I've never listened to Buffalo Springfield. Never heard of him even. No worries, Frederick. I hear you. Go try and have fun learning. If you're still here, you might be gone already. Anyways. Look at this. This is absurd. This is the exact issue we're trying to deal with. You can disable the scrolling using the following properties. However, in some cases, such as the one I'm stuck with now, when you disable scrolling, using the scroll wheel over the grid won't work in the more higher framework elements. That's exactly the problem I'm trying to deal with. But do you see a solution? No. So, how am I going to solve this stupid problem? I'll have to look them up, guys. Buffalo Springfield. Prevent scroll viewer from handling the mouse wheel. Ah. In the category here, okay. In the category of the pot talking to the pan, I present you scroll viewer. It's the main control to implement scrolling in your templates, but it's also the one not respecting a very fundamental rule of scrolling. If you're done scrolling, let your parent scroll. Not only does scroll viewer handle mouse scrolling even when no more scrolling is needed, but it also does so when there's nothing to scroll, or worse, when it's told not to scroll. Let's take an example, XAML file. This is solving the exact problem I'm dealing with right here, thankfully. Thank you, Mr. Sebastian Lambola, however you pronounce your interesting name. How we can change the scroll viewer to behave more like it's supposed to. The most direct approach is to leverage your tunneling and bubbling events and use them against the buggy control. I like the way this guy talks. The idea is that if the preview mouse wheel is handled, WPF will not generate the mouse wheel event, and in turn the scroll viewer will not scroll. Let's add a handler for the preview mouse wheel event on one of our scroll viewers. Okay. All right, so basically I need this method, from what I can tell without reading any further. If it doesn't work, I'll come back and read more. But let's go to ultimately our album details view. The data grid is what is scrolling when it shouldn't. So what we need to do, I'm going to get rid of that since it didn't seem to do anything at all. We're going to go album details view model. I'm going to paste this method in here. And we're going to override attach view. Now, the base.attach view in this case we're doing the album view model image loading stuff, which we don't really need to do here. Whoops. So I'm going to override that, and we're not going to do the base. We're going to do that. And then we're going to hook up this method, and basically we have to, well, this .view, is that a content control? It is. So this .view .find name, the name of the data grid, is data grid apparently. So I'm going to say var grid equals this .view find name data grid as data grid, and if grid equals null, then we're going to return, and from here we're going to say grid dot this was on the scroll viewer. So grid.scroll viewer, why can't I do that? Crap. That's the right class. I got to be able to get access to the scroll viewer. So he has a grid here. Scroll viewer, stack panel, scroll viewer. Figures. Data grid, WPF, data grid dot scroll viewer. WPF data grid get scroll viewer from code behind. Get data grid scroll viewer. Why should I have to do this? That's ridiculous. Huh. Well, okay, let's see. What about doing this? The album details view. We have our data grid. Data grid.scroll viewer. I can do that. Scroll viewer. What's the matter now? The member scroll viewer is not recognized or not accessible. Oh crap. It's freaking irritating. Because he's explicitly declaring the scroll viewers here, clearly. And I'm not in my data grid. If I can get access to the scroll viewer, then I can run this code. There's got to be a way to do this. This is ridiculous. Access to scroll viewer is... Wow, that's really poor, but okay, whatever. That's so stupid. Whatever. So we have our grid. Visual tree helper. Get children count. Grid. Get child. Grid eye. Scroll viewer. Don't need the console.write line. That gets us our scroll viewer, apparently. Scroll viewer, scroll viewer. Scroll viewer equals. We have some extra stuff we don't need here, and then let's break the for at that point. So we have our scroll viewer. If scroll viewer equals null, again we return. What's the problem here? Fine. Equals null. Finally, we have our scroll viewer. That's such a stupid way of getting a scroll viewer, but whatever. If it works, it works. And then we go back to our code here. Well, we just need to hook this up. Preview mouse wheel. So scroll viewer dot preview mouse wheel equals plus equals this dot handle preview mouse wheel. And actually, what we could do, I'm fine with this. We can simplify this, though. Actually, I'm not fine with this. Here we go. We can actually, all we really need to do is this. Simplify it significantly. Now, we'll see if that works. I'm going to clean this up a little bit here first, though. Okay. go. What's the issue here? Oh, I see. I get it. All right. I don't like the name of that method. Scroll viewer preview mouse wheel. Now what's the problem? Can be made static. Okay, well then let's make it static. And hopefully this will work. If it doesn't, it's going to be a royal pain in the butt. It doesn't work. Come on. Why isn't it? That was a whole bunch of hoops to jump through in order for something not to work. I guess let's debug it. See what's going on. Attach view. This is in our album details view model. My comments are... Where am I at here? It's over here. There we are. Attach view. Harmony Encyclopedia of Rock. Sounds cool. So the album details view shouldn't be happening until we click on something. There we go. So we get our data grid. What? Okay. So of course it's this method here that's not working. That figures. Let's go to immediate. Yeah, there's nothing, there's no children in the grid. Great. So this code is like either bogus or the code that we use to get the scroll viewer is not working. What the heck? Ah. Back to the drawing board. Data grid WPF get scroll viewer. Show you what I'm doing here, but Reset scroll bar position. That could find me something. I don't know. Well, this is doing the same stupid thing. All I can figure is it needs to happen later in the process. But I mean, how am I going to do that? Data grid scroll changed. Huh. Okay. Sure. Irritating. So, grid.scroll changed. That's not even a thing? Are you kidding? Oh, man. Scroll viewer.scroll change. That doesn't help me at all. Because I can't even get the stupid scroll viewer. What? This isn't making sense. Oh, come on. This is not the problem I expected to have. Get data grid scroll viewer. So this is apparently how we do it, but the thing is, I think it's just happening too early is my guess. So how do I make it happen later in the process? I don't know. I guess I can look for an event on the grid. You try something simple like mouse enter for now, I suppose. And then do this there. I don't know, we'll see. It's not doing a darn thing. You figure out if this ever gets called. No, apparently not. So that apparently was the wrong. Wait a minute. Was I even debugging? Probably not. Stones. There it is, yeah. It's doing its thing. Children count. 1. But it's not a scroll viewer. So there is no child scroll viewer. What the garbage. This whole, it just doesn't make any sense. So basically it's telling me that there is no scroll viewer in this grid. And yet it's still capturing my mouse. What now? How is that even a thing? There has to be a scroll viewer in that in the data grid. If I get rid of that, what happens? Be nice to solve this one last issue before we get off the stream here, guys. This is a tad bit frustrating. Sum 41. I like Sum 41. Same issue, most likely. What the crap? Maybe if I take a different route here. Data grid capturing mouse wheel. Override on mouse wheel if I derive from data grid. Huh. So if I create a class, subclass of data grid, I mean, I suppose I could do that. That's worth a shot, right? All right, well, let's do it. Let's add a class called, thank you, Amber, non-scrollable data grid. Public class non-scrollable data grid overrides data grid. We want system.windowscontrols.datagrid. Now override on mouse wheel. Hey EA. Basically what we want to do is just say e.handled equals true, which in theory should supposedly completely disable the mouse wheel on the data grid. We shall see. So non-scrollable data grid. What we want to do instead then in the album details view is make this a non-scrollable data grid, but we need local. Where do I do that? There's an example of that. Save myself the trouble here. Do I even have it anywhere? Okay, this is close enough. xml-ns, let's call it local unbroken.musicbox assembly musicbox alpha, and we're going to say local non-scrollable data grid. What else do I have to fix here? Okay, come on. Okay, it looks like it should work. There it is, and the issues go away. That's good. I guess we'll see what happens. Well, it still loads, but it doesn't solve my frickin' problem. You gotta be kidding me. How did I know it wouldn't work like somebody told me it would? That figures. What else is new? No, that doesn't disable scrolling, buddy, but thanks for trying. Huh. Thank you. Yeah, for real. Google is failing me right now. So is Stack Overflow. I found like 3 articles that claim to solve this problem and they don't, which is wonderful. So I guess I'm going to keep struggling with this, guys. I don't know what I'm going to do. This is so stupid. The scrolling is like, no matter what, captured here in this grid, and I can't make it not do that, which is incredibly dumb and speaks to how poorly the control was made to begin with, frankly. So this is the bad design decision when they made this control, apparently. It sounds like it affects all the scroll viewers, but I don't understand why I can't even get the scroll viewer. That doesn't make any sense. So you got me. But anyways, guys, I'm going to let you guys go and struggle with this on my own so that I can scream at the wall. I have a caramel and chocolate, I don't know the brand or anything, but it's a chocolate bar with caramel in it. Should be good. But yeah, thanks guys. It's been a good stream, a good first stream for MusicBox. On Thursday, I'll be headed back to Launchbox development, and we'll go from there. I don't know when exactly I'm going to have this album view out, but hopefully soon. We shall see. And we'll go from there. But we're getting there. It's getting closer. This scrolling issue is just killing me. But I'll hopefully get it fixed before the end of the day, and we'll be moving on. Yep, take it easy, folks. Thanks for joining. Have a good day, week. See you guys on Thursday. Laters.